Hello. Hello, everybody. Oh my God. I just got home a few minutes ago, threw on my dress. I hope you all are doing well. I teased my hair. All right. So I did not make a pre-announcement for me to be here tonight for this subject, but I made it, and I'm going to open my drink and turn on my ring light. So hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, Houston, we have liftoff. Kind of, sort of. All right, I hope you're having nice weather where you are. I'm finally having some nice weather here where I am. On Thursday, I was able to go out and take a walk around the lake that I like to take a walk around. And there wasn't any wind to speak of. So today I finally got myself out to go buy a few things. And it was over there by the lake. And then it seemed like it was already looking like it was wanting to rain and windy, and the wind picked up. And when I came out, I'm like, oh no, I can't take a walk now. It's just way too windy. And kind of chilly and looking like it might rain. Well, when last we met on our last week's episode, we talked about me coming on today to really explain a healing that I had done, a unique type of a distance healing. I've done some distance healing before. I've done some clairvoyant healing where it's not hands-on until the very end of the session. But in this case, as I recall, it might have been the first distance healing that I've ever done. I just don't know. I've had to kind of work on family members that were in the other room after I got very upset. You know, my power gets very strong at certain times of the year or during a certain phase of the moon, right? Like the full moon. And I affected this family member. And I felt so bad that I stayed in bed and I focused on this person actually getting better. And so I imagined a white light all over him, up and down, and then a green light, and then a pink light, and then a blue light. And again, I think the pink light again, and I like hovered myself, imagined that I was hovering myself over this family member, completely my body, transmitting love. So this kind of emoting that some people like me have can cause emotional damage. Here we go. All right, I'm going to type hi. Now, maybe it's a beautiful weather where everybody is right now. And so, with spring, in fact, where I went to buy a few items, I ended up buying seeds and a pot because every year I have to replace things. The weather just damages them. So I got a new pot. While I was there, I got some seeds. They didn't have much. And if I went back Wednesday or Saturday, they might all be gone. And that's at the dollar store. Got my sparkling ice drink. And I got a whiteboard. I love having a whiteboard. It's going to work a lot better than me having this piece of paper on the side of the wall here. Nobody's here yet, so I'm just kind of chit-chatting. Alchemy of Life really wanted to hear my story. So while I'm waiting for Alchemy of Life to show up, and some other people that did show up last week, I think was really, really good. So was the week before. Yeah, I think I put these in my phone calendar and throw that away. Okay, updates. Updates are, and working on my coffee account, I have finally finished the description and everything for the Astarte starter kit. I don't anticipate other people wanting to become like me, deeply attached or wanting to build a year-long relationship with Goddess Astarte. So I only have one kit right now. Of course, it has the consecrated talisman, which I had commissioned an artist to make for me. And it's not anything that she's ever made for anybody else. And she'll never make another one like it, she told me. So, I paid a pretty penny for, I don't know, several dozen. And I cleansed all of them, smoke cleansed all of them. I made a video about that. And then I decided I really should consecrate them. And then I've told that story 10 times. But I put them all in front of her mirror. And I have a picture of that under commissions, under shop on my coffee account, where they're all laid out in front of her mirror. And then on the 10th day, I decided to lay down. I was going to do like 13 days, I think. Laid down, I put on some real Mesopotamian Sumerian music. It was very nice. And I just laid there with a little tea light candle. That's it. And after about 10 minutes or so, my smoke alarms went off. There was no smoke. I was not burning incense. Bathroom, bedroom, hallway. I'm like, oh my goddess. So I knew she was there. That's what happens. So then I had to get up and, try to fan them, really, because there was no smoke. So I'm fanning them and I'm trying to push the button, and I had to wait. Nobody ever came to my door. Nobody ever called. Nobody ever did anything to see if I was okay or what was going on. So I guess they figure, sometimes people are just burning incense or they're smoking. They shouldn't be. And I don't know what they're waiting for. They're waiting for someone to be stumbling out of the apartment, choking or whatever. But nobody ever came. Nobody ever called. And maintenance never came. I believe it was just the middle of the afternoon. I don't remember. And I realized, okay, the work is done. 10 days. So now there are some people that have had these made of sometimes they're like solid, but they have the Astarte symbol. This is an open weave design. And they charge more money than what I am asking on my coffee account. Okay. This is as a medium channeling. and working and bringing that energy forth and having the essence of that deity imbued in the item is why they are more money. But it's under $100. So that's competitive. Now, with the kit and everything else that I put in there, it is $145 value for, I believe, $99. And I may raise the price if somebody doesn't buy it within the next month. In other news, if you've seen my community post or my recent short, Lilith has been speaking to me a lot lately. I started working with Astarte on June 10th in 2021 on a Thursday night. Solar eclipse, I initiated with her, gave an offering, burnt the sigil, asked for some assistance, and within the next morning, I received a text message about my daughter having had pay for the past and the current phone bill. I'm just giving updates until somebody comes for me to tell the story about Raphael. One reason I didn't do the preview is because for some reason YouTube has been saying, we don't recognize you or you need to sign in to your account. And sometimes I can remember that really quick. And then like last week, all of a sudden I couldn't remember what to do. Sometimes you just put your phone number. But they wanted me to put in my email. This time I think was a little different. And so then I don't know if I typed it in right or wrong. It didn't work. And then I thought, oh my goddess, what is going on? So it took me a while to figure out. I got to go back in and I had to jump through some hoops and then type in my Google username and password again. And then it worked. I think they're just bugging. Okay. So my subscriber base has gone up, which is wonderful news. It's not quite 900 yet, though. I had a message channeled from what seemed like my father who said 1,000 members or something like that. Excitement. And I figured, okay, he's telling me what I'm hoping for, which is 1,000 subscribers, and that'll be very exciting. But last week's live and the week before that did not create that. Okay, so back to what happened Friday morning, text message, phone bill paid. Saturday morning, as I began to wake up, I had an image of a photograph in my mind of Fraser with his wife sitting next to him, and I heard the name Lilith. I really didn't know anything about Lilith. Now, this proves they go together. I've had people ask me on social media somewhere, do they go together? Because there is an author who says that they don't. And I said, these authors and scholars and armchair magicians, I guess you call them, are helpful in some ways. And in other ways, they're not working with the spirits. They're not getting to know the spirits. They're not channeling from the spirits. So the spirits are not telling them who they really are. So I told a story about hearing a screech owl at my bedroom window just before my mobile home sold. And I mean, it freaked me out. It was right at me at my bedroom window, very, very loud. And I'd never heard of owls in this area. Found out later we do have screech owls. Alchemy of life, you made it. Yay, thank you. I did not post it on the community post. I was out running errands again on Sunday. No such thing as running a quick errand, right? So, yeah, that's what I was doing. Oh, yeah. No, you're fine. I'm just giving updates. And so I decided to tell the story of, well, first of all, I finished uploading completely everything I needed to for the Astarte starter kit on my coffee account. Over there, in case everybody didn't know, also, I have, there I am, have, there I am, have a place to make donations. And in the commission area, I believe, you can book a consultation with me. There's a 30-minute and there's a price. Um, and then I have services. And then I have the shop. And the shop is where the Astarte kit is. Also, I was talking about my consecrated talisman. The talisman is in the kit and it is $99, which is less than other people who do consecrate their talismans. And the whole kit is just $99 and it's like $145 value, if I remember correctly. Two people here. Hello. This is going to be a good one. All right. So I just been thinking about her a lot, and something said to me, do a ritualized oil. And so I spent the afternoon gathering everything I had here together. I actually had some apricots that had been steeping that I took out. Thank you for the thumbs up. And I've had for a year. And I have told a story about smelling apricots and feeling very amorous, and being able to really enjoy the act with my partner after a very stressful period of time. So it's an aphrodisiac. So I put that in there along with some other things. I put her sigil, and then I put 3 purple candles because that's what came to me in a meditation one day in the form of a triangle after I'd set up a sigil to charge for a spirit. I'd gone into a sleepy state and fell asleep and saw these 3 purple candles in a triangular formation. So that is how I charged it. It turned out to be a full moon on a Saturday, Virgo going into Libra. So it was perfect. And I've heard that there's going to be changes coming over the next 28 days, was it? Or I don't know, 2 weeks, but continuing for the next 28 years. So there I did a full moon working with Lilith to charge an oil. It's going to be very special. I'm actually going to have a very beautiful little bottle and decorate it and maybe put it in a box, make it very, very special, which it should be, right? Anything we put on our altar should be however we think is attractive or pretty and special, and a place to show them, look, this is your special space. Okay, so it's outside on the patio table now. It is going to be infusing for a month, and I'll probably start taking pre-orders in a couple of weeks on my coffee account. And then you'll just have to keep watching to see when it's ready. Okay. So are we ready for me to talk about the day that I actually did a healing for someone at a distance using the ancient god, or as many people know him, Archangel Raphael? I think it's important for me to note that in the beginning, when I started studying and reading books on witchcraft, I had gotten to my 3rd or 4th or 5th book, and I think it was my 2nd or 3rd book from Silver Raven Wolf, maybe my 4th, on angels. And she said angels don't belong to any ideology or religious sect. This makes sense to me. They were created by the Creator before humans were made to assist us in our human incarnations. I love that. So that's how I looked at it, because I was trying to reconcile this, Raphael angel coming to me and me practicing witchcraft, and how does that work, right? So this helped to explain it to me as an occultist, a spiritualist, a medium. So I wanted to find a way other than getting messages in dreams for either using certain affirmations or certain herbs or certain vitamins for my own health. My ex-husband had been coming around to visit, and I believe it was 2021 or 2022, not quite sure. And I believe it was latter part maybe of 2021. I had been watching a man here on YouTube, and I'm just going to give him a shout out, J.S. Garrett. I started watching their lives when they first started. I was interacting every time they had one. They got to know me. And I had already seen a couple of his videos, and I just liked how serious and down to earth he was about how people can struggle and never get ahead. They get ahead, and then something happens and they fall back again. And he was talking about spirits that he works with that he felt were the most helpful that he had ever worked with. And he also talked about Astarte. So I began watching the lives with him and the woman that was his wife at the time, and I became very attached. I was really, really enjoying every single live. So he had been working with an ancient spirit, a king by the name of King Belial, but he also works with Raphael. I think they go together. I think there's a lot more that we have to learn about this area, and maybe it's on the Arbatel. I don't know. It's like a 3-ring circle with, it lists all the angels and then all of the demons, as they were called, that were corresponding. So whatever's on the tree of light, the corresponding um, being on the tree of death, right? Now, Raphael is a regent of the sun, which is Tifereth. However, King Belial is Jupiter and Neptune. So, maybe there's a similar frequency there. I don't know. But I haven't had any conflict. So I was learning to draw different sigils for Raphael. J.S. Garrett was using a different one than what I had learned in Silver Raven Wolf's book about angels. There's a sigil that kind of looks like a lamp. Very simple to draw. You can use that. But I had decided to use a fancier one and put it on a piece of paper, and I just left it on the coffee table. And we're talking years of me asking off and on, how is it that I'm really supposed to be working with you? So finally one day, my ex-husband had come over another time telling me that his wife was sick with COVID and was getting sicker. I'm like, oh, I'm really sorry to hear that. And I don't know if he asked me, he said, you have a wealth of knowledge. I said, well, thank you very much. Do you know something that they could do? Maybe some plants, some herbs, some supplements. And so I don't know what I suggested, guys. I might have suggested oregano, which kills everything. I might have suggested, electrolytes. You got to stay hydrated. I don't really remember what else I said. I was, not really feeling that I should say, yes, I'll do this working with you, for you and your friends, for Raphael. But one day he came over, probably a week or so later, and said, my friend is now sick with COVID. They don't have family. They don't really have friends around. They're not really friends with their neighbors. They don't speak much English. He's now sick with COVID. And, he doesn't cook. So neither one of them are eating. She's sicker. And it's been like 3 weeks now. And he's begging me, is there anything that you can do? I'm all ears. Thank you for this. You're welcome. As I recall, I said, well, I've already tried the herbs and the supplement route and electrolytes and all that. I said, I have been wondering, and he knew about the candle that turned into the winged being. I've been wondering how I'm supposed to work with this angel, and I have the sigil here. I said, I can try calling on this angel Raphael. And he's like, yeah. Now, he was not a practicing Catholic. He's from Peru, and they're all Catholic over there. But a lot of them don't really practice. They don't go, they're not involved with the religious. So, but I think he knew about this being, this archangel. I said, I don't know if it's going to work. He said, that's okay. That's okay. Anything you can do. I said, I appreciate your confidence. What I've learned is that I have to, write on the back here. I'm going to write his name, his wife's name. They have very sick with COVID. Um, he needs to get well. They're very sick. Please help. And I said, now I don't want to freak you out, okay? But I'm going to give a personal offering. You don't have to watch if you don't want to. He said, I don't care. Go ahead. So I took a diabetic needle and I pricked my finger and I took a little drop out and I put it over the sigil after I made my request. Now, I wrote on the back, primarily to heal this man. They're both so sick, They can't get up. They can't cook. They're not really eating. They don't have any help. And my ex-husband, I'm sure, had offered help. Maybe he even took food. He does that. And so I requested, the man needs to get well, I guess, so he can go to work or something. What happened was the very next day, the wife's fever broke. And she got out of bed and was cooking and cleaning. Now, he took it all for granted. He'd heard the news, but he didn't tell me right away. I had to ask several days later. And he said, oh, yeah, the wife got better. I said, the wife got better? Yeah, he's kind of still sick, but the wife is up and cooking and cleaning. And I'm like, okay, he was very, very concerned about his wife. He really needed her. She was cooking and she was cleaning and all that. And that actually made him happier. So, with that kind of energy flowing through him, he started to get better. So, now basically that's my story. I did burn it after I gave the sacrifice. And I asked Raphael, will you accept this sacrifice from me on behalf of Senor so and so and his wife? Please help. And again, I told my ex-husband, I don't know what's going to happen. Okay. I burned it, and then put the ashes outside. And yeah, I was pretty blown away. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And I don't know if I need to give that kind of a sacrifice every time. I might. I'll just have to see, if the occasion arises again, and I do that again. So, I mean, my mind was blown as well. I'm always being surprised about this path. So, and I don't know if Whoa, that was powerful yet simple. I know. Blows your mind. So, what does the sigil you use look like pertaining to Raphael? If you Google sigils for Raphael, you'll see it's kind of a very curvy, swirly type of a sigil. And sometimes you'll see it with a purple overlay. It's very pretty. Kind of looks maybe like an S, or like not so much a musical staff. It's just very, very curvy. And you can use that one, or you can use, there's another one that, like I said, it kind of looks like a lamp. There's a straight line and then a bent line and then a circle on the end. Very simple. And then there's a line underneath that first line. So to me, it looks like a lamp. Have you ever made a sigil where you gave an offering to it of some kind or a personal effect and then burned it? I haven't watched enough videos on your channel yet. If you're willing to share, or if you only want to share that on your Patreon. Get down. Do not scratch on my screen. No, no. Third person, hello. I have burned and used sigils a few times. Okay. Do you put essential oils on them, or herbs, or can you share, if anything, what you put on your sigils before you burn them? He may still have those videos on his channel. There were videos that he took down. I usually keep them posted up around, but I use blood and oils, also bodily fluids. Yes. All right. Thank you for sharing. Yes, it's we live in a physical world, and I know as a medium that spirits use my energy, but not everybody has completely open channel, for them to use my energy quite as easily. Being a physical medium as well, it's even easier for me to build up energy. But, if I'm dehydrated or I'm depleted or I'm tired, it doesn't hurt to give that extra sacrifice on behalf of someone else. One thing I like to do with sigils and symbols is to meditatively scry into them and let the symbol open up inside of me. Wow. Very good. Yeah, that makes it much more powerful, because once you make that connection to a spirit, you don't really have to do spell work or a mini ritual or a ritual. You can just think about what it is you need with your mind and your heart, and they feel it. They hear you, and they're like, I'm on it. And within 24 hours or so, you could have that heartfelt request answered. So that's my story about Raphael. I am excited about my ritualized Lilith oil. That's very compassionate thing you did. Thank you. That itself may be a key factor to healing energy, grace, and compassion. Absolutely. I've heard it said that we have as many neurons in our heart or our heart chakra as we do in our brain. And that a lot of times I've also heard that spirits are not just hearing your mental request, but they're feeling from your emotions how much you want it. It's a very powerful energy. And put together, we are a powerful energy, spiritual energy machine. We really are. And I have a patron spirit that really wants to know how serious you are. How bad do you want it, right? I have to keep asking for things again and again until I get so frustrated and say, when are you going to assist me with this matter? I'm really, really sick of it. I want this to stop. And then the next day, it's solved. It stops. So sometimes they really don't want to be frivolous, They really need to know you really, really need it, right? Um, Good to know, right? You can't just go to them for frivolous requests or so and so looked at me cross-eyed today. Go get them, I don't think they're going to like that. And so this is why we learn to be personal with things. It grows the desire. That anger gets things done. Yes, our emotions are our friend. And for a long time, I was told to stifle them, especially anger. And until I was able to really get through all of the religious dogma, I had my dream journey and came back, and I began actually emoting a little bit too much. I went from one extreme to the other until I finally found my happy medium. But I found it very, very useful because not only did I charge my atame from having an amorous dream, I charged my wand, which is my big screwdriver, like my sword, with anger. I went out to the shed and was just fed up with how messy it was. I pulled everything out and I was just emoting the whole time. And by the time I got to the shelf and was organizing things, and I opened up, I don't know why, I opened up this screwdriver that was in a package and was holding it and then found a place for it on the shelf. I don't know when at that moment or sometime after I discovered that it also was charged. So it almost doesn't matter. I'm learning it almost doesn't matter whether it was strong amorous feelings or strong, strong frustration. When you emote what it is that you want or you let it out when you're like holding uh, a metal item, maybe it can get charged. You can send that out. And like I said, I was telling my story, I think in the beginning, where I wasn't sure I'd done a lot of distance healing, but I helped a family member who was in the next bedroom because I had really, really yelled at them and they got sick. And so I felt I had to reverse that damage and go in uh, at night, while they were resting and I was in bed, and imagine that I was hovering over him, and using colors like green all the way up and down, and then blue all the way up and down, and then white all the way up and down, and then pink, and then that my whole spirit was laying above him, just sending love I felt so bad. And then the next day he was fine. So, yeah, we can cause this type of damage to people. This is why we learn to be persistent with things. It grows the desire, the anger gets things done. hmm That's a good meditation practice. Let's see here. Uh, Myself with certain emotions, especially related to manifesting our desires. Yes. So, yeah, with certain people, whether they're young or they're not, they can unfortunately absorb a lot of your energy if you're super, super, super angry with them and yelling at them. So, it's a trial and error thing. We have to learn as we go. Well, I see three people watching, but so far there's only one who is interacting. If anybody has any questions, thank you for the heart. Um, any experience at all that you would like to share, or if you're even familiar with J.S. Garrett. Oh, there's another thumbs up. I do still watch him. There was a while there where it was kind of very touchy, and he now has a new partner, and things are going very well. Raphael is definitely someone. I'm going on the altar and try and connect. Okay. I've come across this channel before. I've watched. Yeah, sometimes it's a little bit, it can be a little bit difficult to understand and process a lot of the things. But I'm learning more and more as I go. And I've done some of these things that work. But like I said, once you build a connection with a spirit, which doesn't take that long, if you're communing on a regular basis, you have them on your mind, you put out something for them, especially a sigil, right? Like I have in a frame, and just give them a little space and say, thank you for helping me so fast. I think it's good for me to build a connection with you. Probably within 6 months, you'll have a very strong connection. I even named my Etsy store after Astarte Apothecary. So, see, any and all of these things that you do, they know it, they feel it, it builds the connection. And I could be just thinking about something, um, or honoring her, really making some incense in a bowl. And a friend called me and said, "Hey, I got a designer purse given to me. I don't want it. Do you want it?" Like, yeah, okay. It's only worth about $200, but hey, yeah. I was really connected to them. I was concerned when they weren't having their lives, and I had a dream about what was happening. So I followed for a little while, and then I didn't, and now I'm back to following again. And so I think he's got a lot of really good things to share and say. Well, and figuring out what to talk about next week, it had come to my attention from a friend of mine that I could talk about information that's come to me during my channeling sessions. this is actually how I found out that King Belial really is related to Monday, Neptune, and Thursday, Jupiter. Those are the 2 days that he would come through and announce himself and give me a message. So the Goetia is correct in that respect. The Goetia doesn't seem to be correct on all areas, and this is another reason why you need to actually look at the sigil and ask, can you tell me a little something about yourself? How do you work? Um, and keep building this relationship with the spirit. And the more you work with it, the more you'll find out what they really do. Because sometimes you can think, oh, well, they didn't answer that, but I got this. And so the diviners back in those days might not have necessarily understood for whatever reason, or sometimes I've heard they deliberately don't put the correct information. So you have to find out for yourself. And in that way, you start building a connection to the spirit, right? So he suggested that I talk about um, electromagnetic frequencies that are sometimes used to affect things. For example, J.S. Garrett works with radionics boxes, and he's talked about a variety of things that he has done and other people have done. You've probably heard about HARP, HAARP. And I had said, well, I don't want to scare people, and create fear mongering. But, I could mention that there's already been some mysterious things happening to aircrafts. No reason for the equipment to suddenly stop working and the plane to go down. And I don't know if we all should be wearing obsidian or black tourmaline or, what to stop those EMFs when we're in an airplane. Yes, we have to do the work eventually and have our own experiences. Yes. Ah, I heard of radionics. It sounds very interesting. It is very interesting. I haven't bought a box yet because I'm fortunate enough to have strong energy and many spirits, but it couldn't wait, right? If I can afford one someday, I'd like to experiment with it because my middle name is research. So I love to fly. I don't want to be afraid to fly. If I can wear tourmaline, black obsidian, put stuff in my pockets. But this is supposedly something happening again in October around the solar eclipse. And I don't remember where it was. Maybe I'll talk about this next week. I'll go back and read what that channeling was. But yeah, that's pretty, it's real. HARP is real. Affecting the weather is real. And there's probably more than just government agencies that are doing this. One man who made the first radionics boxes that I had seen on the channel had told the story once or twice about making it snow in the desert. Okay, so I have worked a little bit with weather and I have been able to dissipate something that was very, very strong. But that's basically it. I haven't really yet tried to split up clouds or make it rain. I think that's something that we should at some point experiment with. And Silver Raven Wolf talks about that in one of her books as well. I'm coming back on YouTube, just not anymore. and just doing it. Just not as much anymore. There's a heart there I can't read. And just doing it. I'd love to have you in the chat. Okay. Whoa, making it snow there of all places. Yes, it made the news. It was in the papers. I love weather magic. We can do so many things that has not been wanting to be known or disclosed to us. I'll just briefly state that sometimes I go to the banquet. It's just up the road here to save a little extra money. And, there's a Cadillac or a Mercedes. There's a Jaguar that showed up a couple times. And I'm not judging. I'm just saying. I sat across from someone who has quite a few $1,000s in savings and a couple $1,000s coming in his retirement account. But, he just wants to live like a pauper and continue saving money. So he goes to the banquet. But for the majority of people, they're not, they really don't have any extra money and they need it. But I have had a couple of people sit across from me that were not only a little bit questionable about, where they are in their head at the moment, but another one who's just so negative. And sometimes one time I smelled alcohol. And then a woman sat across from me yesterday and she asked if she could pray for me when I was all finished talking to her. And I don't think I was really mentioning a lot of sad things at all. I said I downsized to a studio. I'm finally saving some money now. I got my trust fund money early this month. Things are looking up, right? And plus, I told everybody here on YouTube that I had called out one night on my bed for money that I desperately needed. And I got more than I asked for in December. So, but at the end, she said, "Well, can I pray for you?" And I said, or she said, and then she stopped for a second and she said, "Are you?" And I said, "I'm Hindu." And she says, "Oh, okay, but can I pray for you anyway?" And I just want to say this is an example of how they are so conditioned to believe that they have to use this ideology and pray for you like I'm worse off than she is. I'm not. Oh, I meant not fearing coming on anymore, just doing it like I used to. Okay, great. And even when I said, "No, I'm Hindu," right? Like, "Thanks for asking." And she says, "Anyway, can I pray for you anyway?" And I said, "No." And I didn't even have a chance to say I have a priest, right? And when I want him to bless me or use my name when we're doing puja, or he comes around to ask our name, or if I want him to bless me, and give me bindi, I didn't even get to tell her that because she said, "Well, can I pray for you anyway?" And then she said, "Okay, I got to go," and got up. And I thought, oh, it's just not innocent to me. The Abrahamic religion that doesn't have a goddess, she's going to pray for me to, I don't know what, help me. Help me what? So what I'm going to do, I've decided, and I've thought of this before, I'm going to go in line, grab a food container, put my food in the container, and just come home. And I've seen other people do it too. So the I'm Hindu part got me. Yeah, a lot of Christians do that, but it's conditioned. Yeah. Well, where's the respect for boundaries? I just told you I'm Hindu, and you want to pray for me anyway. It's the save your soul part, really. You know, it sounds like it's innocent. Oh, I want to pray for the Lord to help you. I have Shiva and Ganesha. Those are my lords. But, you can't sit there and get in an argument. And she got up to excuse herself anyway. But that's just an example of the one-sidedness of, we really believe that if you don't have this path, your life's not going to be as good. And, and then there's the health thing. They have 5 children. We were talking about a lot of different female things. And her husband, even though he has a good marketing job, is doing DoorDash, because I mentioned I had done that in the summer. He's doing the DoorDash, the Uber, and something else called Shipt. And I've seen people, like, when they're slow on DoorDash, they'll switch to another app to see if there's enough. This husband is having to go, she said, because we agreed on a lifestyle where I wouldn't work. Now, I guess when you have 5 kids, right? That's a lot of kids. And then she's homeschooling. So anyway, so I'm just, when I do go over there, if the food looks good, I'll just put it in a container. They do sometimes have some pretty good food, and just bring it home. It does help, and the reason why people that do have money in the bank and do have a nice, decent Social Security check are still going there to get the free food. But I think that for the most part, most of the people that go there really need it. It's been a blessing. It really has. It's helped me through the summer, and then up until about October or November. Being Hindu, have you ever used there's a heart covering a word with a D. Would that be Diva prayers? Hold on. Dharani. I think we've talked about this once before, haven't we? Dharani prayers. I'm still learning. I'm not sure what Dharani means. I learned to chant to Ganesha back in, I'm trying to think. I was in my mobile home. I believe it was 2019. January 2019, I started listening and learning how to chant Ganesha's mantra, his main mantra. And then I kind of learned to chant another one that is different. I just love the Sanskrit language. You probably know this. It's brilliant. It's genius. Every letter has a frequency. When you put them together for a phrase, a word, and then a phrase, it becomes even more powerful to assist with connecting to that deity's energy and requesting what you need. Prayers. The Dharani prayers are like very powerful and mostly long-winded Sanskrit prayers, like the Usnis Sadarani. I think what you're referring to is possibly what the priest does when we go for puja, such as Hanuman Chalisa, lots and lots of chants, like rhyming, 3 pages, and it all has to be done 10 times. I love Sanskrit as well. I find it easy for me to speak. Oh, that's interesting. It was quite a tongue twister for me for a while. I'd lay in bed and listen, and little by little I'd catch the sound and then the words and then the entire phrase. And had a pretty remarkable thing happen when I just let the video play by itself for over an hour. These monks were chanting to Ganesha. It was more than 100 times. I don't know how many times. It could have been 1,000 if it went for an entire hour. And I had a remarkable thing happen the next morning. So, yeah, I mean, who knows what this is connecting to, but I mean, it's absolutely amazing. Um, I, of course, connected to, I believe, Lilith and Shiva in a dream on the lunar eclipse last year. And then I went to the temple and I said, I've had a dream about Ganesha years ago. And now I think I've had a dream about Shiva. And he said, well, it's time. Basically, it's time for you to step on the path. I found that certain aspects do require, like the Sanskrit word kale is actually pronounced chali, kali. Yeah, yeah. If you don't grow up with it, it's pretty hard to learn. But the priest asked me one day, what do you think when we're doing puja? Because we were doing the Shiva puja and nobody else was there. And I said, I'm just saying thank you. And he smiled. I said, I don't know what else to say except that, having the dream of the snake and then being told that I was now a new person, that all the things that I had been working on for so many years, I was now liberated from, right? All I can say is thank you. He said, I like that. That's good. So, yeah, when you're pouring the water, pouring the milk, pouring the yogurt, you're connecting to the meaning of all those things. But at the same time, you can just be thanking the deity for the energy that they provide. And then he said, Shiva is very powerful. If you call on Shiva, Shiva can grant you whatever you really need. So, and one thing that I need for sure is the goddess. I don't just go for Ganesha or for Shiva. I had a very profound experience when we had a big, big ceremony for the goddess and Lakshmi in particular one day. It was beautiful, and they honored the women in a particular way. It went on for a couple of hours, but that's kind of a very good thing to be involved in if you're wanting to connect to the goddess, the feminine divine, right? The spiritual concept. That's a very good ritual to be involved in for more than an hour. Okay. Well, it's another beautiful night. The wind has died down, so I might go make a cup of tea and sit out on the balcony again. I thank you so much, everybody, for coming and giving thumbs up. Next week, I think I'll just go ahead and talk about my channeling and my notebook and what comes through from time to time. And this message about how if we're going to fly, maybe we should protect ourselves with certain crystals and whatever else, we can engage in this conversation, come up with some ideas so that we're not afraid to fly. Thank you, Sabrina. You're very welcome. Thanks again so much for coming. I need to go and watch some more of your videos. And then when you have a live, be sure and let me know the next time that you're here. I am subscribed to your channel, so if you have community posts, maybe I'll see it there. And yeah, everybody, Alchemy of Life has a YouTube channel and is starting a Patreon and wants to get back onto lives again. And so check him out. And hopefully I'll be perfectly okay to get back up on here next Sunday at 7 p.m. I might not post it if it doesn't show up in community posts to let you know ahead of time. please just write it down. It's been Sunday nights now at 7 p.m. for since January. I definitely will. I'm going to be coming and getting deeper into my current study and experiences. Okay, you are a busy person because I know you're studying to be a psychotherapist. Okay. So, everybody, have a wonderful week, and I will see you next Sunday night, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Thank you for coming. Good night.